Hi everyone, I'm back with another video, and today I made the Lowland sleep set. This is the top, and I'll be sure to make the bottoms in a separate video. But if you're wondering where this beautiful fabric is from, it is from Trendy Fabrics. I'll also link them down below. But don't worry y'all, I'm going to show you step by step how to make this top, and I really hope that it's easier than you might think, or that's what I hope to do with my videos. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so for this pattern we have two pattern pieces that we need to print out, just pages 1 through 4. I have them all taped up here in the size that I want, which is 2T. And pro tip, I wrote down the size that I need for the binding. I'm actually going to do a band at the top, but it's 6 inches for the front, 5.5 or 5.25 inches for the back for size 2T. All these measurements will be in the pattern instructions. You just look for the cut chart. And then as far as the strap binding, it calls for 12 inches, and I did 1.75 inch thickness, so not that thick, you know. And we're just gonna go ahead and get started. So for the first step, we're just gonna lay our pieces right sides together. So here they are right sides together, and all we're gonna do is sew down our side seam here and here with our serger, and this calls for a 1/4 inch seam allowance, which just means the width that they want us to sew it at, like the width over from the raw edge. And with your serger, it's just the width of the serge, so you don't need to cut anything off for that. And once I have that step, I'll be back. So there is that step all done, and now we are going to move on to adding our bands to the top. They do binding, but I want to make this as simple as possible for you all, so we're going to do a band at the top. So just make sure that you have your pieces corresponding to which part it goes. You know, like the shorter one is supposed to go in the back. So let me just grab these pieces really quick. I forgot which one's which, so okay, yeah, so the shorter piece is going to go with the back, and the longer piece is going to go with the front. And all I'm going to do is fold it wrong sides together, and just serge it to the top here. And it should fit right in there. If you can just stretch it a little bit, go ahead, but we're just going to serge it on to the top. And same with this, we're just going to fold it wrong sides together and serge it on right sides together. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, for this one, it looks like we're going to have to stretch it a little bit, but just stretch it to fit, and then I'll show you what that looks like. So here's what that step looks like. I literally just banded it on. If you like this thickness, then you can go ahead and make a note of it on your pattern piece. If you want it a little smaller, you can make it smaller, thinner, I mean. But this is how I'm doing it. And now we are going to move on to the binding. Now I do it differently than a lot of people, or I think I do. I don't know, maybe some other people know how to or do it this way, but I feel like I cheat my binding, so I'm going to show you my cheat way. So all we're going to do is take our strap, put it right sides together, and serge the raw ends together. Same thing with this piece. We're going to serge the raw edges together like this. You guys see that black mark? I was testing out some magnetic lashes. Shout out Adela. Anyways, so I'm going to serge those, and then we'll get more in depth with the whole binding tutorial, which is gonna be, what's it called, step by step for you all. So let me get to that part. So for this next part, I recommend getting some pins or clips and a ruler, and then of course your binding piece. The first thing that we're going to do is find the center front of this binding piece and put a clip or a pin, whatever you have. And next you're going to look at the cut chart, or I don't know if it's a cut chart because it's not a cut thing, but there's a chart where it says how far the distance between the two straps should be. I mean, between the front and back pieces. So for this size 2T, it calls for 4 inches. So I'm going to make 2 markings 2 inches from my center point, and that will equal 4 inches across. Does that make sense? So the full distance between these two pins is 4 inches. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now I already pinned one of my straps over here. Looks a little odd, but all you're going to do is take the seam, and again, I'm kind of cheating with my binding, but this is the way that I do it. So I take my seam piece and pin it. So we're matching up the seam with the armpit. And then this is all right sides together. And then I take my first pin and match it up, and then pin that as well. And I take my second, match it up with the start. Oops, sorry, I don't know if you were able to see that whole thing. But okay, now we have everything pinned like this. You can even take this pin off. But what we're going to do now is serge this all the way around. And I like to start at one of the tops. And we're gonna have to stretch it a little bit. That's okay. And then serge, serge, serge. And then when you serge over here, there's gonna be like nothing for it to grab onto, but don't worry because we're still gonna use that as a little guide once we start our actual top stitching for the binding. So hopefully that makes sense. This step so far. To make our binding, all I'm going to do is go ahead and serge all around the straps. So here is what my straps look like so far. And now we're going to need our pins again. I'm gonna grab those. Okay, so now I'm going to show you again my cheat method of how I do my binding. So all I do, so all I do is fold it into 3 parts, or to thirds. So I grab it and I kind of try and meet it up to that serge line. That's why I like to do the serge. And then I fold it over to make sure that it's covering it, you know what I mean? And then I put a pin and I kind of look to see what it looks like. And we're going to do the same thing all around. So we're going to fold our serge line over. It looks a little wonky because it was serging over just one layer. We're going to fold our serge part over and then fold it over like that, if that makes sense. And it's gonna form this like thin-ish strap. And again, I'm just gonna put lots of pins in it. So whatever section you're working on, just make sure that you're meeting the raw edge with the serge part and then folding it over. And I am going to do this a few more times and then show y'all what it looks like. Or you should be able to see what it's going to look like once it's the strap. You see that? And your goal is to try and make it all the same thickness, but I mean, I always say nobody's perfect, but so there's one way of doing it. And then if you don't really care about the raw edge showing, the other way would just be to fold it and fold it over just to meet that edge, you know what I mean? But that makes the strap a little thicker, so it just depends. I like this way just because everything looks more finished. So again, let's go over that with the other strap. All I'm doing is finding my serged line, meeting the raw edge with it, and then folding it over. And I try to meet this folded side. Sorry, I'm not in frame at all. My video cut off. I meant to say I try to meet this folded edge with the other folded edge, you know what I mean? Just so it's all the same width. I mean, I try to make it the same width as much as possible, and especially to cover those serges, those serged thingies. Okay, so now I'm going to move over to my cover stitch. Again, you can add as many pins as you want. I didn't add that many because once it's under the cover stitch, it kind of just works its magic, but let's head over there now. I filmed one whole strap and then realized it wasn't filming. Okay, I mean recording. Okay, but this is what it looks like. It came out like really nice in my opinion. Okay, but now let's go to the tutorial part. So I like to start somewhere in the back-ish. And hold on, I'm trying to find a good spot. Okay. Now all I'm going to do is place it under, and I'm going to line up this edge here, the edge of the strap, with my serger. I mean, not my serger, with my sticker. I'm all flabbergasted now because I could not believe I recorded a whole thing and it was all perfect and I didn't record it. Okay, anyways. So I'm just gonna go for it. And then please make sure you're removing your pins as you go. And depending on how many pins, you might have to stop and go, but that's okay. And again, I'm just lining everything up here. And I just can't imagine. Okay, and you see how I'm like lifting everything up? It's because I'm making sure that I'm really lining this bad boy up here with my sticker. And I'm trying hard not to stretch it, even though it might look like I am. I'm trying hard not to stretch. Man, I feel like this strap is not as good as the first one. Okay, I'm still going. I'm gonna show you what I do when I go over this hump, because this part is the biggest part. I mean, the like thickest part, you can see how it's like little hump. I don't know. So I just hand crank in this part. Just because I don't always trust my cover stitch to go over it. But that's good. And we're almost to the front. I mean, to where I started. Alright, we're almost there. So I'm going to go ahead and clip my threads from the beginning. And then just try and match it up as best as I can. Normally, I'm looking at my dots. There's like 2 little dots on this clear foot, if you have the brother. Hold on, I have to stand up for this part. Okay. Once we surpass a little bit where we started, like about an inch overlapping, I mean, that's when I cut it off. And if you haven't seen my cover stitch video, you should, because these things are life-changing. Okay, so now we're done with the straps, and I'm going to go ahead and move on to the hem because this video is getting a little long, but I'll show you the straps right now. So here they are. I don't know what else to say about them, but that's them. Okay, now we're going to work on the hem, and we'll be done. So first I need to show you the settings for my serger. So first things first, we're going to switch to R. So instead of R, you can leave this setting the same, but we're going to switch all this to R. Same here, R. We're going to go inside our machine and take off your stitch finger. It's this bad boy in the brother. You just push the lever, cronk, and then you take it out. And then I'm going to snip my left needle thread. Just the left needle. And I'm going to pull the thread out. So next I just make sure to cut my threads from the both sides. I'm starting in the back. We are going to place this underneath our serger, and I like to stretch it as I start. So I stretch it as far as you can go. And my camera is going to shake because the table is going to shake, so sorry about that in advance. But all you're going to do is pull from both sides. What you're doing is you're pulling with all your might from both sides, and you're also making sure to shift the fabric to the right, because if it goes out of the frame, not out of frame, but if it goes out of this area, it won't start rolling. So let's go for it. And again, you're stretching it and making sure that you're catching it, basically, by pushing it to the right. And you see how that lettuce hem is forming? So I'm going to go ahead and do that all the way around and be back. Okay, I'm almost to the beginning, so I'm just going to clip it. and go over it. I want to go over it just a little bit. And then I'm just going to put my needle down and serge off. And then I don't know much about this stitch or like if we need to secure it, but I'm just going to pull my looper threads how I normally would if I was securing the ends. And we're all done. Let's look at her. Here she is. So cute. So this is it for this video. Oh, sorry, you can't even see the hem. Here's my hem. I'm not sure how to adjust your settings to achieve a different look, but I'm pretty happy with this. So that is how you do it. Oh, and if you need to go back to your regular settings, you just switch everything back and make sure to put the stitch finger back in and of course your thread back in. But that is it for this video, and I hope it helped out, especially whoever requested it. Shout out to you, and I'll see you in the next video.